Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everybody doing? And welcome to today's I Love Real Estate Student Success Story. All right. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mary. Mary has been a student for quite a number of years, and she also spoke on stage a few years ago. I think it was 2018 Super Conference, and shared her story there. She's still been doing some pretty amazing things, and she's very, very prominent within the Adelaide community, I Love Real Estate community, as well as around a number of other cities as well. So, Mary, how are you doing?
I'm going really well, Michael. Hi, everyone.
Excellent. Are you excited, ready to share a little bit about your story?
Oh, certainly am.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right. So look, I think one of the first things to do is, should we start off a little bit at the beginning? And can you give us a little bit of an idea of what you were like? I mean, where were you coming from before you joined? A little bit of an overview. Where you were coming from before you joined the community there?
Yeah, sure. I suppose a lot of people start their property journey with their principal place of residence, and I suppose that was my journey, buying what everyone sort of told you: buy the worst house in the best street and renovate it and sell it, and upgrade to the next one. So I did that about 3 times, and at the time I was living in Sydney, and made some good money, out of that, like improve my equity situation. Obviously Sydney, often would have the double-digit, growth. But I suppose I was just relying on that natural growth. And then because I was earning a high income, my accountant advised me, I should negative gear, and obviously the negative gearing was the big trend. Reduce your tax, and so I did that, at least once or twice. Also did purchase a property with my brother. I bought a resi commercial property. He hadn't bought property before, and he could get a loan, and we had some cash, and so we bought a property together. And at the time I didn't really know it was called a joint venture, but we did hold that property for a couple of years, got some good cash flow, and made a nice capital gain. And so yeah, that was sort of the start of the journey.
Fantastic. So you were doing joint ventures before you even knew what they were.
That's right. Before I knew that's what they were called, and how to do them properly, in terms of the right structures and the right legals. I think that's one of the things in the community. You learn how to do them properly in terms of, from an accounting point of view, asset protection, and obviously the legal side of things. That's been a big learning. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, look, there was something that I think that happened to you as well. That was a bit of a changing point for you to decide to change, and that was, I think, was it something about with you dropping? Was it your daughter off to school or something? Was something?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, that was. I mean, living in Sydney, as anyone who does live in Sydney knows, it's a pretty crazy place, and I had this pivotal moment. So I'm working, as this executive. I'm, sort of the main breadwinner, and sort of really suffering from that, busy mum syndrome. Juggling so many balls, organising everything. Working very long hours. And there was one day I dropped as I would normally do, drop my daughter off. And this one day, I found a car park right outside, literally the door of the school. And I would normally get out of the car and walk her in, but I was thinking, she needs a little bit of independence. Sometimes she needs to be able to walk into school by herself. And so I let her do that this one day. And went, bye, see you. And then I was halfway to work. I was driving from Concord West to Liverpool, and I get this phone call saying, we've got your daughter. I'm going, well, what's happened? And they told me that it was a pupil-free day. And I just couldn't believe that I'd done that I'd somehow missed the communication, because I don't know, where was it stuck in her bag? This is before, you got these, internet messages or whatever. I just didn't know. And she was only 8. I was horrified, and I was just so lucky that the teachers actually had a development day. Otherwise, that little girl, I mean, she didn't have a mobile phone. She had a key to the house. I don't even know whether she would have been able to walk home, and just freaking out, and that was that pivotal moment. I realised I wasn't, doing things well, like just this whole juggling and being really time poor. What the hell was I doing? Pursuing this career, locked into sort of negative gearings. I had to keep working, but then neglecting my child and like abandoning her.
Wow.
It was horrible. I thought, oh God, something's got to give. This isn't the lifestyle for me. Try to have it all, but actually not having it all.
Wow.
So quite a challenge. So, but she was okay. She was good. It was just me freaking out, and I thought, oh, what have I done? How stupid of me, because then all the mum guilt happens.
Absolutely. Well, just incredibly lucky as well. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I'm sure others have done the same, but I'm usually a very organised person, but that was just one thing that I missed, and you kind of think about what could have happened, and
So this was kind of a pivotal point where you had to reassess.
Yes, I did.
You had to reassess. Okay, cool. Yeah. So what happened? Was that like the deciding factor for you to go, you know what, I need to look elsewhere, and that's how you came into ILRE Real Estate? How did that occur?
It was a couple of things. What I realised that I was really tied to this, this investment cycle of negative gearing, which meant that I had to keep working. Because obviously your cash flow is impacted a fair bit, and I was just sort of on this. I knew there was something else that had to happen. I felt that my knowledge wasn't quite there, so I went and saw a financial planner, thinking, hey, there must be other investments like shares or, but of course, what then ended up happening, they weren't able to advise me about property, because I really liked property. I had some good success with property. But of course, then they were spruiking things like tree plantations and truffle farms, and they couldn't advise me about property. So I wasn't happy with those types of investments, and then I suppose I started researching. Okay, what's out there in terms of learning about property? Because I wasn't going to get it through my financial planner, and my accountant was still insisting on this negative gearing, and that's when I discovered. Dymphna's program. I think I went to I think it was just a one-day event, and pretty much signed up, on the day, because my eyes just opened up to the possibilities. I was thinking about property investing in a very narrow way, and she just opened my eyes up to there was so many different ways of investing, and also about how to structure things so that you weren't caught up in this negative gearing trap, basically. So it was very contrarian to what everybody else was saying, and I really liked that.
So you didn't end up, luckily you didn't buy any kind of tree plantations or truffle farms or anything like that?
No, I didn't.
Very good.
No,
okay.
I didn't. I avoided those. I did buy shares. I have got shares, but I didn't do that sort of, I think, speculative stuff. And maybe people have made money, but I just didn't trust the accountant and the financial planners. I know they were getting commissions. It was like that time, where the industry was very unregulated, and they were getting a lot of commissions from these investment companies. So low trust.
Yeah. And so what was the first things you got into when I mean, obviously you're getting into the training. Give us a bit of an idea of how that was for you, because you've mentioned your eyes opened up.
So. Yeah, so the training was I went to several boot camps, the one-day events. I was, one of the things I really love about the community and what Dymphna offers is that just that richness of information, that there's specialist streams like, the property development or, cash flow property or strategies, or purchasing property with superannuation. So you get that overview of all the possible strategies, and then she'll deep dive in terms of the content, deep dive into specific areas. And so I spent a lot of time, going through the content, attending boot camps, and really my eyes opened up to the possibilities. And probably the one area that I did learn about was about joint ventures, and that's sort of been my journey sort of over the last few years. That I realised that I could do things using either my money or not my own money, but pooling my resources with other people, you know, who maybe had sort of experiences or knowledge or money that I didn't have. So that whole concept of bringing parties together to fill the gap and be able to do a deal that you wouldn't otherwise want to be. Like one of my first joint ventures after the training was I was 100% the money partner, and I had someone else be the working partner. That was a project in Western Sydney. We did purchased a bomb and renovated it, and made a nice little profit. And he did most of the work, but we kind of collaborated together from a project management perspective. And a couple of times I would come over and help with the cleanup, or help with a bit of state, or you know, pre-cleaning before the sales. And I really liked that. That was a really good opportunity, because I was still working full time at the stage, and I knew that I didn't have the time. And even somehow the know-how, like hands-on, to do that renovation. So that was leveraging, you know, his time and his skills, and he leveraged off me in terms of the money. I fully funded that project.
That's kind of really key from your side as well with joint ventures, isn't it? Understanding those leverage points and utilizing the strengths where your strengths are, and obviously where your weaknesses are, you're leveraging off somebody else's strengths as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then they were able to get some, you know, a nice return that they could then put into another deal, you know, themselves. So that was a win-win. And it wasn't a long project, but it was also a way that we could get to know each other, and potentially do another opportunity. Yeah.
A nice entry deal. How did that stack up dollars wise for both of you?
We made about this is sort of early on, so that would have been in 2016. We made about 100K on that one.
Okay. Was that each? Was it?
No, that was all together.
Okay. Cool. Yep.
The market in Sydney had actually dropped a bit, and in hindsight, that deal would have been better to have been a hold rather than a flip.
Hindsight. Yes, hindsight.
Yes, in hindsight, it would have been better to hold. And probably what I should have done, if I'd only known, was to have the property revalued and then pay him out the equity uplift. And then I should have retained that property, because yes, it would have gone. It's probably gone up quite a lot, and it would have been, from a cash flow point of view, quite a good property, because we turned it from a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom to a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But either way, even with the market dropping, you picked up 50K each.
Yeah. So Sydney does drop sometimes, or slumps for a period of time.
Excellent. Yeah. Now, I really want to you've got a really interesting insight into stacking strategies as well.
Yes.
And this is something that I think is a really, Dymphna talks about this a lot. I know a number of the students talk about it. Can you give everyone a bit of an understanding about how you understand stacking strategies? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And can you give us a bit of an example of that, because I know that we've mentioned one as well.
Yeah, that's right. So stacking strategies is where you apply more than one, I call it property tactic. So it could be that you might be applying a cash flow strategy on top of a growth strategy. So I'm now looking at properties where I can add value in a couple of ways. One is to boost the cash flow, and this might be in a period of time that you might be waiting to develop the property, or alternatively that there's maybe a land component to that property that you might then be able to subdivide. So it could provide you cash flow, or it could be a property that you might partially sell off, and then do a development in terms of you do a subdivision and maybe you do construction. So you're applying multiple approaches to get the maximum return from the one property. So for example, I've got one currently in Adelaide, and it's there's a bit of a story to this one. Do you want to hear the backstory to this one?
Well, I think it's interesting to kind of drill down on this point, because this is really, it's a really interesting kind of way of taking more advantage of a situation than just looking at it through one one set of eyes. It's
Yes.
like, and what you said earlier on was that your eyes are opened up, and I think that this point is really interesting to actually to expand on. So yeah, please tell us about this one, because this one in Adelaide it
So this
sounds.
one came about because the owner was under a bit of stress. It's opposite a major hospital in Adelaide, and she owned a nursing home, and on either side of the nursing home are these apartment blocks. And she was using them as respite and short-term accommodation. She had tried to sell the whole complex a couple of times and just couldn't get a buyer. And then what she did was she subdivided the apartments from the main nursing home and was going to put them on the market individually. So I came across the first property, which she had just put onto the market, and it was 5 homettes, or villas as they call them, 1960s villas, on a single title, 2 bedrooms each, and each with a little courtyard. And the agent told me, oh, she's got another property. She hasn't yet put it on the market. And I said, well, show it to me. So I went and had a look at it, and that was just literally a bookend property, just literally on the other side of the nursing home. And that consisted of 8 studio apartments. And I had a JV partner for the first one, but I didn't actually have anybody for this other one. And I said, I'm going to buy them both, and I'll work out how I can get a JV partner. So I had no money for either. I had one JV partner, and then ended up finding some JV partners for the second one. And in fact, I invested in that one as well. I put some money from my super. I had some cash sitting in my super doing nothing, but it just come out of another deal. And I knew that I could buy into this.
So just to clarify, you started off, and so this has started off, the one strategy is no money down deal.
No money down deal.
Okay, that's the first one. Okay, cool. All right,
yeah,
keep on going. Let's find out
more.
more.
Because we were looking to purchase the two lots, we were able to negotiate the price quite down, so she was open to negotiations, and no one had seen this other one wasn't even on the market. So I was able to secure the JV partners. I said I threw money into it. So badly scrambling, trying to, amongst the community and amongst some friends, I found some partners, and so we purchased them. And so the first one, I ended up, again, that wasn't a stacking strategy. That was community titling, because they were on a single title, doing some renovations and then selling them. So we sold them down. And then the 8 units, that's where we've actually done a lot more stacking. So the zoning was amazing. It's a medical precinct zone, and it actually allows us to go 3 to 4 levels. So our plan is actually to get a DA and demolish the units and turn them into a shop, consulting rooms, and potentially 1 level of apartments. And in the meantime, what we did, we started off with a stage 1 approach, was to increase the rental return. And by the way, we immediately got an equity uplift of, we each paid $145,000 for each unit, and they've been valued at $200,000. So we basically got over $50K uplift, equity uplift, because we were able to negotiate the price down by buying the 2. So what we've done is we reviewed all the tenancies, increased the rent, and we put 2 on Airbnb. And what's been fantastic about this particular deal is, because we're opposite the hospital, no problems getting tenants in, because we've got this job hub. It's quite close to the city and close to Glenelg, and also we're providing a service to the community. We have people from the regions coming to stay with us. They're either accompanying a patient. So even during COVID, when they cancelled the elective surgery, we were still getting people coming in to book into our Airbnb. premises. And so it's, from a cash flow point of view, it's bringing us a lot, probably at least 1,000 a month more than if we had put it in the long-term rental market.
Okay, so let me just see if we can track down here. So
there's a lot in that one.
I know. So the property at the front, that was a commercial strata title and a reno and uplift and sell. Is that correct?
It was the first one was so the one we sold. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was five apartments, single level apartments. We renovated 2, and we sold them. And community titled them. Yeah.
And community title them. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's called community title in Adelaide.
Yep. Okay, great. So that was on one side. On the other side, you've got the equity uplift. That was 50K per apartment, and that's 8 of them. Is that right?
8 of them. Yeah.
That's 400K uplift. You increased the rental yield.
Yes.
Yep. Cool. And then also you've done the DA.
We're in the process of doing the DA. That's stage 2.
Okay. And it was a no money down deal.
No money down deal.
Okay. Is it anything else? Did you do anything else, or was that?
We also did a feasibility on whether we should do renovations, like in the short term, to increase the yield and maybe increase the equity, but we decided it wasn't worth it. So we did do a little feaso on that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how does that stack up, just from the dollar side of things? How does that kind of work out? Obviously, you've got the equity uplift, the 400K. Oh, sorry, and the cash flow has increased 1,000.
At least so we're probably we're getting about a net return of about 6%.
6% return. Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. So it's making money. It's made money whilst we're investigating the second strategy, which is to actually do a development, like commercial development. And there's quite a bit of money to be made in that one. That's a longer term strategy. So it was really important that we had the right JV partners that were happy to go through from the beginning to the end. We've got a JV agreement has quite detailed stage gates and decision points. And so we're at the point now that we have all agreed that we will take it to the DA stage. When we get to that point, we'll also have to assess whether we actually do the construction or whether we sell the property with the DA, or take it to the full construction. And then to get further uplift, we need to find a prime tenant to move into, or a couple of prime tenants to move into the property, because the commercial property will be worth more with a long-term tenant. And we also know there's a market, because of our experience with, running, the Airbnb, and we're self-managing the property from a property management perspective. But there is a market for single people, sort of short-term, as in, 3-month rentals, and then obviously servicing the hospital. The hospital's now started its upgrade, its stage 3 upgrade, which is building a whole new emergency department. So we knew when we bought it that they were going to be doing it, but it was still, I don't think the DA had even been lodged by Department of Health. Well, they're actually starting the construction now. They've got the scaffolding. They've got the fencing now with a big signage with all the renders for the new hospital. So that's actually fantastic, because that means there'll be more facilities, better facilities, and it's going to, attract more people to the location.
Mm. Now, this is not something that you went straight after doing your first JV now, was it?
No, it wasn't.
You did a few others.
It evolved. I mean, we're looking for apartment blocks to renovate and community title. But this particular property just, revealed so much potential. And it was the right zone that we could actually do this, because it is this special precinct, medical precinct zone.
Yep, got it. So maybe a more simple deal that you would have done earlier, you did with your brother.
Oh yes, this is the one I did for love.
Do you want to share a little bit about what you did there?
Yes, I was getting a little bit annoyed with him because he had quite a bit of lazy money sitting in super, just sitting there as cash. I think he got a bit spooked when the oh God, this would have been when the IT bubble burst. This was pre-GFC, and it was sitting there not earning him a lot of money. I think he was only getting about $380 or maybe $400 interest a month, and he had quite a bit of money sitting in there. And I said to him, look, I'm going to buy you a property. And it turned out that he was going overseas sailing, and he made me his power of attorney. He was away. And I thought, oh, good on me. I'm going to do something. And he trusts me. I'm his twin sister. He's my twin brother. And I joke and say that we've been a joint venture since, in utero, we partners for life. So I ended up buying him a property in the Sunshine Coast, because at that time I was living in Brisbane and got to know the Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast market pretty well. And I bought him a property which has turned out to be really, really good for him. He's gone from earning, I said, about $400 a month in interest to about nearly $3,800 a month in terms of the rental yield. And because the Sunshine Coast, property market has just been going up, and obviously these last few 6 months has gone crazy. I mean, I think he's had at least 150,000 equity uplift and probably going strong. So that one was a corner block. We did a small renovation. We converted a garage into a studio, and so we had 2 rental incomes, and yeah, it's just a set and forget property. And no problem. I mean, the vacancy rates there are so low, no problem renting, and just the equity increase. It's just incredible. So I think he's happy with that one.
Yeah. And how much did you get from that deal?
I got nothing, just love.
Oh, nice one. And it's interesting you say, yes, you've been a joint venture for your whole life.
My whole life, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Indeed. Now, just on the point of joint ventures, do you want to just kind of expand a little bit on how you look at joint ventures? Like, how does it work from you? Because I know that Dymphna has a JV agreement, and
yes,
it doesn't always work, or sometimes it does. There's a bit of a requirement, and you have a bit of a process about going through to confirm it's going to work.
Yeah. Joint ventures are quite complex. Sometimes people ask, should you find the deal or do you find the JV partners? Which comes first? For me, it's finding the JV partners. That's got to be the primary thing. A JV arrangement will only ever work if you have that mutual understanding of what your needs are. And for me, if I'm the working partner, it's really important that I understand, the risk appetite of the partner, and also to what kind of strategy they want. What results do they want to achieve? Do they want to invest short term? Are they willing to hold for maybe bigger returns? Is cash flow or a chunk deal really important for them? And everyone's needs are different. And I certainly have had experience where I've thought I've understood what they need, and then have brought a deal that matches that. And some people have, literally, run away. They thought, oh no, this is too complicated. Because what I do, I always present things like, always start off with a confidentiality agreement. I'm very good at documenting these things. I present a information memorandum so that people understand what the deal is about, the strategy, what, a mini FISO, so what returns they can expect. I even have a pre-JV agreement. So in principle, we're agreeing to move forward, because I'm not going to construct a joint venture agreement takes quite a lot of time. So if they're not actually committing to the next stage, I need to know that straight up. And then it's the JV agreement where everything gets documented, and then being able to walk through that and being able to step into each other's shoes. Because if you're the working partner, or sometimes you could be a working partner and an investor. I've been both. I've been like joint money partner and the working partner. And then I've brought in like someone else to complement me, because I may not have the serviceability or enough equity. So it's really important to step into each other's shoes to understand okay, well, what are the risks? What are the opportunities? Who can contribute? Roles and responsibilities, and work through our exit strategies. Like if the deal isn't, if, for example, if the market shifts and selling isn't a good thing, okay, well, can we afford to hold on, and how long, and when do we review? So it's really important that everybody understands each other's role and their contribution. So it's not an easy thing to do, and it's really important that you build those relationships. And I've certainly had people that thinking they were ready to sign the joint venture agreement, and they've pulled out. I even had one the other day, unfortunately, where I presented a deal, and someone actually had signed the contract of purchase on the property, and as it turned out, when her husband was looking at the opportunity, he thought he understood, but he didn't understand. And he just got very nervous, and she literally had to pull out of the deal. So, and it's not that we didn't have all that documentation. So it's really important that you have the right person, and that they're able to see the deal through to the end, and that you also have stages, of decisions where people can exit, if they need to. But it's also important that everyone, values each other's contribution. And also thinks about, okay, what's best for the project? It isn't always about your self-interest if it's at the expense of the other party, or, maybe taking the profit, a smaller profit too quickly. But if you held on a little bit longer, you actually altogether might get a better return. So it's not an easy thing. There's a lot of learnings along the way. Yeah. And I think you definitely need support around you, like a good accountant, a good broker, and definitely good property lawyers. It's not for the timid.
And what about for yourself? Because you've changed quite a bit in regards to getting out there and networking and so forth within the community, haven't you? You've had a bit of a kind of a bit of an evolution of how you deal with things and how you interact with the community, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think I started just being part of the audience, in amongst the crowd. But then I think I've stepped up, and I think I talked to you earlier about, it's an opportunity. This community does provide an opportunity to develop like self-leadership, and leadership within the community. I know that people that have been very successful are the ones that have been willing to share, their highs and their lows, their learnings, and I saw that was sort of like a key criteria for success, in property, is being able to be authentic and be real, and to share, and to give value, and certainly with the ILRE community I had experience in Sydney, Brisbane, and now Adelaide. It's a community that you can make great friendships, you can build networks. And last night I'd organised a catch up. We'd been locked down for a week, nothing like Sydney and Melbourne, but I think we're all suffering from cabin fever, and people really appreciate the social catch up. So I've been organising that from time to time, and out of that I've got some really great friends, but I've also got really good networks now in terms of who were some of the good tradies, who were people in contact on this issue, what do you think about this property? So we do share information, and that's what I think is pretty amazing. So apart from the boot camps and the live stream, to be able to sort of interact with your state-based community is fantastic. But I think you've got to be involved. That's one of the things I've learned, that I probably wasn't much of a networker before, but I really love it now. If I'll say to Michael, if I don't have at least one coffee catch up with someone that's involved in property, that I kind of feel like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm connected, and I suppose the biggest change for me is that I did actually give up the corporate job. I leant into my fear, and decided to transition out of full-time work, and now property is my life, property is my business, and changing from a employee mindset to now being in a way I kind of call it like being an investorpreneur. I'm investing in property, and my business is in investing, property investing.
And you've also got your husband involved now too?
Yes, he's Mr. Airbnb. So he knows all the booking systems now, and because he's got a background in tourism and hospitality, he's absolutely fantastic in speaking and helping the people that are coming to the property, especially the people from the regions. They're elderly, they're sick, they don't have very good medical services, and they're having to come to Adelaide for the specialist care. He's trying to work his way through the bureaucracy of the health department, and he's quite happy to ring up the minister if there's issues that these people are experiencing. He advises them about the patient-assisted transport system, how they can get some subsidies from the government. It's been actually really, really good, and they're loving the hospitality and the fact that we're literally across the road from the hospital. It's been really, really good. So we feel like whilst it's a profit-making venture, we're actually providing a service to the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And a couple of our tenants are doctors at the hospital as well, which is nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, and it was great too. Like as I said, during COVID, we were like literally COVID-proof, because even when they shut down that elective surgery, we still had patients coming in to stay.
Awesome. Now, getting back onto another deal that you've done, that you did do a 3 townhouse purchase as well, and that's gone quite well for you, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. So this was a joint venture. This one was with my brother, an accountant and an architect, and we formed a company in a unit trust and bought a property by the seaside at Thirroul, Sydney, 3 townhouses on a single title. It's been cash flow positive, and we're in the process of, it's a bit of a long-winded process of getting them strata title. We've still got to make some conditions. Obviously, we've got to get firewalls in, and there's a few, let's just say, not to code construction, we'll call it parts of the building that we've got to remove and replace in order to meet code. Like when you do the strata, sometimes it brings up, issues about non-compliance with building code. It might have been okay while it was, back in the 60s or 70s, but today's standards are a lot higher. So we've got to meet requirements. And then the other day they asked for a traffic management report. So it's all these it's kind of happening incrementally. But we had an appraisal done about a week or 2 ago, and we bought it for 1.7, and they reckon once we've got it strata title that it's about $3.4 million. So potentially a good return.
So potentially a good return is about 1.7, doubling.
Yeah, doubling
your money.
Doubling.
Awesome. And it's cash flow positive.
Yes, cash flow positive.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, and that's one I've invested. I had, again, 200K in my super. And obviously there's complexities around super when you're investing in super, related parties, unrelated parties. It's something that, you need to get really good advice on. And that was one of the learnings, that you can actually do a lot with your super. And I thought, that I had reached my limit in terms of what I could borrow and the equity that I had. But then I realised through Dymphna's teachings, and obviously through, the specialist advice on super, that you can actually do a lot with super, but you've got to treat it carefully, because there are, ATO requirements that you need to make sure that you meet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what do you know what the cash flow position is, positive wise?
I think we get about a 6% yield.
So you're getting a 6% yield.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic.
But for me, it was more the equity. The equity's really, it was a long-term hold, and now we're sort of in that second up cycle in terms of, Sydney's, the peaks and troughs. So now we're going through a second wave. And it's also that ripple effect, with Sydney itself, prices go crazy. Well, the regions, start to or the outskirts of Sydney also. We've seen Newcastle go crazy, Wollongong. And that coastal strip is really important. So I tend to like properties near a coast or near some kind of major job hub.
Fantastic. And so for you at the moment, you've managed to quit your corporate life?
Yes, quit the corporate life.
Yep. And how have you gone? Have you can survive now with enough income without the corporate life? Is that right?
Well, it's been an adjustment. So I've had to rethink even my JV agreements about how I can get some cash flow, because otherwise your earnings are very lumpy. You get them sort of at the end of a project. So now what I do is I charge either a project management fee, I build in a project management fee, or I have milestone payments so that I'm not paid at the end of the project. So it might be at the, after we've purchased the property, we've settled, there'll be a payment. If I do a renovation, it'll be completion of the renovation, and then the rest of it will come at the end of the project. So I can get a little bit of some cash flow coming through.
Yeah, awesome. And now how, because you've had quite an increase in your assets, haven't you? Since you've joined, how has it stacked up for you?
Yeah, I suppose I'd say overall my net worth has increased. And again, this is sort of like as we are now. I mean, obviously these other properties, once we sell and once we do that in Adelaide, that construction project, I mean, there's even more to be gained. But I've gone from like about $1 million to $2 million. And these are with some of the smaller deals. So it's been increasing. But the projects that are sort of in train, it'll probably be another $1 million. So I'm kind of doing a bit of a combination, trying to maintain some cash flow in terms of income, then do some chunk deals, and then do some bigger deals, which may involve building up my super, because I am using my super in a couple of deals and rolling them through to another project, and usually in a joint venture where, I might only be contributing $200K, but I know that I'm going to get a much bigger return on that, probably doubling my super.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
fantastic. The network is growing. The cake is getting bigger.
Yeah, fantastic. And it seems like it's getting faster.
Yes and no. Some things take a long time. So the more this one in Adelaide, the second project, I mean, that's a long burn. So,
awesome.
But the returns will be bigger. I've done some that have been, under 6 months, a year, and this one's the longest one that I've done. Yeah. A bit of a mix. Love to mix it up.
Indeed. I was having trouble keeping track of all the ones you've done. We were speaking before, and it's like I'm having trouble keeping how many deals and how they all line up. So yeah. Excellent.
So because I'm not doing so many like renos and flips, I don't need to do too many deals. 1 or 2 a year is enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Well, look, the thing I want to kind of like have a look at now from your side is you've mentioned that the true currency from your point of view now is time. Do you want to just expand on that, especially now that you're in a position where obviously equity wise is increasing? Yeah. This is all coming back, and you've quit your corporate life and so forth. What do you mean by time is your true currency? How do you perceive that?
I think my philosophy has really changed. I used to think that money was the most important thing. Now I realise that there's more to life than money, and I should kind of use that term a bit. It's one of my bylines. And I also believe now about it's about living abundantly. It's not all about money. So some people think I might be a bit obsessed with property, but to me it's a means to an end. And what I realised is, and maybe that was that moment, when I left my daughter behind on, when it was pupil-free day, is that the thing that I had the least of was time. So I do now appreciate that time is the most important currency, because it and obviously doing property, you know, as a business allows me a lot more flexibility. I mean, certainly at times in a project, you know, you're focused on that, got to deliver a result. But I find that I've got more control over my time, and I've got more time freedom, and ultimately it is leading to, you know, that ultimate time freedom, you know. So, and having that balance, you know, of you know, working on projects as then spending time with family and friends. I mean, funnily enough, one of the things that drove me to quitting the corporate life is that there were so many amazing events that I Love Real Estate were running, and I'm going, if I go to Brisbane, if I go to Adelaide or Sydney, how am I going to do that if I've got a job, you know? And also do projects. So I thought, nah, something's got to give, and so the job had to give.
So you gave up you gave up your corporate life so you could come along to Dymphna's events.
That's right, exactly. You're having so many of them.
That's hilarious. Good on you. Good on you. Now, the other thing is about skills from where you've come from to where you are now. Do you want to just?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think sometimes people underestimate, you know, the skills that they have and how transferable they are to property development or property investing. And you know, I was leading large teams responsible for multi-million-dollar budgets. You know, looking at managing procurement contracts, managing contractors, hiring people, interviewing them, implementing IT systems, managing stakeholders, clients, legal documents, business continuity. I mean, I just had all this experience, and I had this light bulb moment once that I could actually apply all of this, especially once, you know, the learnings through Dymphna, that you can actually, you know, you need to run your property projects. If you're going to be, you know, in the business of real estate, you are actually running it as a business. And I realised that, well, in my corporate life, I was running a business for other people. So why couldn't I bring those skills into my own business? And that was a bit of a realisation that, you know, often your skills are transferable, and sometimes your skills may not be fully complete, you know, at this time, you know, point in time. But that's, you know, you can learn through I Love Real Estate. You can meet people that have got the skills that you don't have, so you can, you know, fill the gaps that you don't have at the moment. So that's why JVs are really good. Like, if you're not a tradie, you know, you can match yourself with a tradie or a builder. You know, if you're not very good at bookkeeping, well, I know there's bookkeepers and accountants in amongst our community. If you're not good at writing, you know, you might be more of a number cruncher. You can match yourself with someone else. So whether you've got them now, you can certainly tap into the knowledge that's in the community. And of course, you've got your experts, you know, that have got, you know, got qualifications and a license to do certain things on your behalf. So yeah, that was a learning that, you know, you do have skills that are transferable.
And did you mentioned a little thing about self-leadership. What is really what you mean by self-leadership?
So self-leadership is, I mean, if you make a decision to do this full-time, or to change your career or to transition, it does require leadership. So that was probably one of the things, is that I knew I couldn't just, you know, jump ship straight away. I actually had to have a plan. So if this was something that I wanted to do, that I had to show, you know, to myself and to my family that I had the leadership within to make it actually happen. Otherwise, I would just be talking about it. You know, I'd be a wannabe. So ambition, the passion, being organised, planning. You know, really having you know, a strategy around how I was going to make that transition was really important. And because I had to prove it to myself that I could do it, and I had to prove it to other people. And one of the things I did, actually, this is when I was in Brisbane, I actually did a vision board. And of course, one of the things that's on there, in fact, it's sitting right next to me, my vision board. It's just here. And I've got here investor, property developer. So that was about, okay, I'm going to have that self-discipline to be looking at this thing every day, twice a day, and be very focused. So that was the thing that guided me to actually make the leap, you know, because I realized I was actually living a life that was so distant from my vision board, that I was not in congruence with what I had dreamt about my future. So I wanted to create my future, and that was sort of that self-leadership, that this was going to be my life, you know, and I made it happen. And the vision board was actually my power tool to do that. So, yeah.
That's actually a really cool point. That's a really cool point, and I think I love how you've described it. That it was your power. What did you say? Your PowerPoint?
My power tool. My power tool.
Oh, your power tool, like a power tool, like a tradesman's power tools.
Yeah. Well, that was about being focused, you know. And I had never done one of these before, and I'm not really a woo-woo person, but when I did that, had that experience of creating one, it's like all the words found me. It was quite a cathartic experience, and it's with me all the time. I did it when I was in Brisbane, brought it back to Adelaide, and I have it with me all the time. I even put it on my as my wallpaper, my screen thing on my phone. So every time the phone rang, I'd be looking at it. So it's a constant reminder that, Mary, you've dreamt this life, you know, you've got to make it happen. And I have made it happen. And that's kind of that belief in you. And don't worry, I've had doubts too. Don't worry, I've had good days and bad days. But this thing always gave me that confidence and the courage and the conviction that I could do it. And so I can tick off some of it. Some of it I'm not so good at. I mean, I need more time for self-care. You know, a few holidays would be nice. So that's why I like the boot camps. It got me out of home and could chill out a little bit. The Gold Coast ones were really, and the Sunshine Coast ones were good too. And I was part of Platinum.
Yeah.
Bit of R&R as well as learning.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mary. This has been awesome. How is everyone else feeling? I don't know. I haven't looked at the chat.
Any questions?
How have we gone? Have you enjoyed, Mary? Have you got some insight into pretty amazing experience? You've done some really fascinating things. You've obviously, just from a monetary point of view, assets have doubled and they're in the process of going up again. You've done some pretty amazing, like pretty complex deals, stacking strategies, joint ventures, and deals with just love with your brother and other things as well. And I'm sure that Adelaideans are very happy to have you there to be able to help out the local community as well.
We're small, but we I always say it's about 1 degree of separation in Adelaide. Everyone knows everyone, but they're a nice, really good group, really, and a lot of them have become great friends. You know, we've even had the chance to showcase our own projects. You know, come over. I'm just about to put the property on the market. Come and do a tour of my new, you know, renovation. So it's been really good.
Actually, Mary, that point, that's a really interesting point. We spoke about this a little bit before. Can you expand on that? Because this is something that I think that would love to see more of within the communities, because this is local knowledge, isn't it? Yeah. This is having your mates in the market, it's locals. Can you just expand on that specific point there?
Yeah, so I think people need to contribute to the community. I mean, the fact that we have got these state-based Facebook groups, it's a great opportunity for people to you know, seek recommendations, to share stories, and to share real deals. That's what I really like when we went to the end of year conference, was the inspiration you get from, you know, real cases, what people are actually doing. But, you know, just during the week, anytime, you know, like if you're having a good day or a bad day, or you've had success, you know, we want to share each other's wins and support each other, but it's also inspiration. So people are doing some amazing things, and being able to showcase that and applaud, and just to learn, I think is really incredible. And I found that the people here in Adelaide, it is a small community. We can, you know, get around easily. We haven't been, you know, hugely affected by lockdown, and it's just a very supportive group. And last night's dinner, there was some incredible projects that people were doing, and I did encourage 1 or 2 people, hey, put a post up, share your story, you know, don't sit in the shadows. We'd love to hear what you're doing, you know.
And could you give a little bit of example of the learning from others by sharing deals and renos and compare prices? That's specific point.
Yes, definitely, definitely. You're able to, you know, share information about who's a good tradie. You know, what prices have you got on something? Is this reasonable? Or even helping out with if a tradie couldn't come onto a job and, hey, I really need someone, you know, today it's really important that I have this electrician in, and we've been able to, you know, support each other. So yeah, it's really, you know, sharing your black book pretty much, you know. And I think people, the more generous you are, the more value that you can add. You know, it'll come back to you. I do believe in that karma. You never
Absolutely.
know when you need someone,
Yeah.
someone's support.
Yeah, excellent. Now we've got a couple of people that are kind of firing away some really positive comments, which is really beautiful to see. And I think Paul was saying he's going to get along to the next Adelaide catch up. Good on you, Paul.
Oh, good, fantastic.
Sharon was asking about where, but that's probably something a little bit more local for Adelaide, isn't it? For one specific deal.
To buy.
And
Variance analysis.
yep, indeed. And then Dee was asking, did you set up a consultancy trust before transitioning to full-time and leaving the job?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Excellent. And did you have a nest egg to live on a bit before you get income built into deals, or did you set up deals before leaving work?
No, definitely had a nest egg. You have to have a buffer. So that was part of my transition plan. I gave myself 6 months to get that, to have a little nest egg.
Okay, good. Yeah, because she was asking about the risk mitigation about your transition.
Yeah.
That was a nest egg. Excellent. Did you choose a strategy first, then find a deal, or did you just look for a deal? That's from Joe.
Strategy first. Because what I do is I test the strategy before I find a particular deal. So I'll kind of do the reverse FISO. Look at, here's a strategy, look at other properties where that strategy's been applied, see whether it stacks up, and then try and find something that matches that.
Yeah.
And then I know just my six. For example, I love corner blocks. You know, where there's a land component. So I look specifically for those. But that kind of came out of experience. But now I particularly look for those.
Excellent. Good. That's for Joe. And Bruce was asking, how do you buy a $1.7 million property with $200K from your super? I think he might have mentioned the joint venture portion of it.
Yeah, so we did have borrowings. I wasn't the borrower. And each party made a contribution, cash contribution. So no, I didn't fund that all myself. That's why, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do that deal with $200K. That's why I needed the joint venture partners.
Yeah. Excellent. And I think
that's what leverage is.
And that's what you're very good at. How do you understand leverage?
Leverage is achieving more than is, I suppose, is within your own resources by leveraging off other people's resources in terms of time, money, skill, and expertise.
Excellent. And now Jared's asked a question, which is probably a good one to wrap up as well, because Jared's asking it said, my goal is like yours. Any general advice for someone starting out with no capital? What would you say to that one, Mary?
It's probably a couple of things. I think Dymphna teaches this. I would dig very deep into the skills that you have. Really know what your strengths are, because potentially you could capitalise on that in the sense that you may have skills that someone else could benefit from. For example, if you know how to do FISOs or know how to do, you're a good bookkeeper. A project needs good financial skills. Sometimes projects unravel because they haven't managed their finances properly. So you could offer your services into a joint venture with those skills. If you're hands-on, you could be, a working partner. The other one is being a spotter, you know, really understanding how to search for properties, how to do due diligence, and doing a FISO. You might be able to earn, you know, 5K here, 10K here. So there's quite a few ways of doing things without the cash.
Excellent. Excellent. And now we're just on the 1 o'clock. We probably should wrap it up. I think what Dee is asking here is a corner block. Is the corner block you look for subdividing or building on easier? Why do you like corner blocks? What strategy is that for?
Subdivision.
Cool.
It's got to be the right size, in the right zone.
Yep. Excellent.
Not all corner blocks are equal.
Yeah, yeah. Mary, thank you so much. Thanks for kind of like coming on and sharing you know, some insights into what you've accomplished. And it's so nice to have you within the community and taking that role of looking after others and helping out, being a mate in the market for many others, especially in Adelaide, and for sharing here as well. So it's been really much appreciated. So thank you so much.
Thanks for the invitation, Michael.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we'll see you around. And anyone who's in Adelaide, make sure you get along to those Adelaide meetings, so that you can catch up. Yeah. Yeah.
So we have the official one that Andrew Bank puts together, and then there's the social catch up, which we have probably every second month.
Yep. Indeed.
So go onto the state-based Facebook page.
Yeah. And this is a good point as well. So for anyone else who's around the country in different areas as well, we do have state-based and location-based groups. So if you haven't already, join those groups and connect up with others and find your own mates in the market as well. Mary's just shared exactly how valuable that is. So it'd be good for you to connect with others in your local area as well. So Mary, thank you. Excellent. I think we might leave it there, hey? How do we find the state-based groups? Okay, so it's under the community tab of the members-only website. So on the members-only website, far right-hand side, it has a community tab, drop-down menu, it'll say local groups. Tap in there, it'll have all the local groups around Australia. Those groups have been set up, but they are looked after and managed by students. So such as Mary's looking after Adelaide and on some of the groups, so are others looking after other meetups around the country as well. Great way to stay connected. Mary, thank you very much. We might end off there.
Okay, bye everyone.
Okay, thanks everyone. Okay,
bye.
see everyone now. Bye.